Alright, so here I am back with some more Aeon of Horus, and this time we got unique Misaka clones explained, and yeah, just kind of wanted to look at this, see like, yeah, actually, let me get more into this. I definitely know some of them, right? But yeah, there's some more that I haven't even heard of before, really thought of like that before. So yeah, it'll just be a pretty short intro. Yeah, just me talking about that real quick. Just interested in this. It seems, well, literally like the clones unique, or like the title here unique. So yeah, let's just see what he has for us today, and yeah, pretty much, yeah, let's just get right into it, right? And then yeah, we could just move on from there. So let's see.
There are around 10,000 clones
yes,
of the
10,000.
level 5 Misaka Mikoto still alive after the number 1 level 5 Accelerator brutally murdered half of them as he attempted to gain absolute power. While most Misaka clones appear identical to one another and have similar personalities as their brains are linked, there is a small number of unique clones that are notably different from the rest. Kinda like the Bad Batch from Star Wars. I'm going to explain each one of these unusual clones, what makes them so different, their role in the Toaru universe, and their individual abilities. Stay tuned to the end of the video, as there is one clone you may not have heard of.
So yeah, see,
and
look,
is actually
there
one
we
of the
go.
biggest mysteries in Toaru, right beside who the number 6 is and what Termin's dragons actually are. But first, let's talk about Last Order.
Okay.
Misaka number 20001, or most commonly known as Last Order, was the last Misaka clone to be created from the second season of clones during the Sisters Project, as the first season or project to create clones of Misaka was scrapped due to the inability to create perfect level 5 clones of Misaka. But the scientists and researchers found a new use for the imperfect clones, who would be ranked at either 2 or 3, as they would become lambs to the slaughter in order to XP boost Accelerator all the way to level 6, which was all just an elaborate hoax to begin with. Despite her small stature, Last Order was one of the stronger clones, with her ranked at level 3, mainly
okay.
because the scientists had improved aspects of their cloning procedure, which I'll get onto later. Last Order was not intended to be the last clone who would be killed by Accelerator. That delightful role would fall onto Misaka number 20000, as 20,000 clones were required to be murdered for the project to conclude. Last Order held a very special role as the command tower and failsafe for the entire Misaka network. Due to the Misaka sisters' radio noise esper power, they could use electricity and influence electromagnetic waves with their ability. Since they all essentially shared the same mind and ability, the clones passively sent electronic signals to each other, sharing memories and experiences to the other clones, forming something akin to a network of computers, but with brains instead. Last Order essentially acts as the admin of the network. Since she is connected to it, Last Order can send commands to the other clones, and even stop them if they rebelled against Academy City. That is why she's nicknamed Last Order, as she would be the last order in the event that the clones went rogue. As she was not required during the time of the Sisters Project, Last Order was left in her incubation tube, and her body had not fully developed to that of the original Misaka's biological age of 14. Therefore, she was released after the Sisters Project was prematurely cancelled. Her physical age was that of a 10-year-old. That is when she met Accelerator, the strongest level 5 Esper who had murdered thousands of her sisters. But rather than treating Accelerator with animosity, she accompanied him and treated him with nothing but kindness.
Yeah, we can pretty much see that, definitely.
Shared the memories of the clones that were killed, but noticed that Accelerator was misguided during the project, and was in fact hesitant to do his very cruel job, as Accelerator would taunt the clones when he fought them, and asked them if they truly wanted to continue the experiment. Not because he was sadistic as hell, but because inside, Accelerator was uncertain if what the scientists told him was true. As during the experiments, Accelerator was told that the sisters were all just masses of flesh, and not actual human beings with autonomy. If they showed human emotion, or were unwilling to continue, then it would have proved to Accelerator he had been lied to the entire time. The fact that Last Order noticed this about him and was correct proves that she is very intelligent, and also chose to see the good and vulnerable side of Accelerator instead of the bad. Compared to the stoic and indifferent nature of the other clones, Last Order has quite an upbeat and energetic personality. This is perhaps again due to her premature release from her tube, as she acts like an immature child instead of a trained soldier like the other clones, as she was not experimented on for the same duration as the others. Accelerator later became Last Order's guardian as he began his redemption arc, with Last Order acting as the trigger, which made him want to protect the clones at all cost, in order to atone for his past sins. What Accelerator desired most inside since he was a kid was a family, and he took upon the role as Last Order's parental figure to protect her from the evil authorities of Academy City. Last Order functions as the core of the entire Misaka network, meaning she is notably susceptible to electronic viruses, which will not only affect her, but also the entire network. Such as when the former Sisters Project researcher, Amai Ao, inputted a virus into Last Order, which would have resulted in the thousands of clones located in Academy City and its many worldwide institutions going absolutely berserk. She is also used as the key component to summoning scientific angels such as Fused Kazakiri and Iwaz, who are reliant on the Misaka network to manifest in the physical world or current phase. Therefore, Last Order is instrumental to the plans of the board chairman of Academy City, Alistair Crowley. While at one point, Alistair authorized Last Order be terminated and replaced after she was suffering from a new virus brought upon by Iwaz's appearance and Accelerator's seemingly going rogue as he fled Academy City, taking Last Order with him to Russia.
Yeah, this is real good. Yeah, just
make even more clones.
Yeah, getting to look at all this
Order
again.
In this worst case scenario.
Yeah,
Luckily,
see everything
this was
going
prevented,
on.
As Accelerator used magic to remove the virus from Last Order's brain, saving both
But yeah, of
her
course,
and
yeah,
them,
Last Order's
with the
pretty
magic being
important,
very
pretty
similar
crucial.
to the same song Index used during the Academy City invasion arc to stop Last Order from powering Fused Kazakiri. Next up is Misaka
Oh
Worst,
yeah, Mica
who is
Worst,
the only
right?
known clone to have been created as part of the third season. How ironic that she first appears in Index Season 3, eh? Despite her appearance, Misaka Worst is actually the youngest of the clones, since she was created after all the others, even though her physical appearance is older than the other clones, with her looking around 16 according to the light novel. And yet fans still want to apply real life logic to the character ages in this wacky series. I pity them. Worst was created secretly in Academy City on the orders of Alistair and the board of directors, with her sole purpose being that of an assassin instructed to kill Accelerator. Worst would act as a psychological weapon against Accelerator, who had now sworn to himself that he would protect the clones. Worst's personality was different from the other clones, notably due to her enjoyment of inflicting feelings of discomfort upon others, acting quite malicious in serious moments, while at the same time having a somewhat teasing personality in casual settings. Worst was made so that she would only feel the negative aspects and emotions from the Misaka network, which the other clones will normally be unable to express, which is why she is called Mica Worst, since she represents the worst qualities of the clones. Even though she's Misaka Best in my book,
Yeah.
Worst can connect to the network if she so wishes, and she also has special implants within her body that prevents Last Order from controlling her. Worst is the strongest Misaka clone in terms of level, with her being a level 4 Esper instead of a 2 or a 3. This may be due to Worst being trained as a weapon to defeat Accelerator instead of a lamb to the slaughter like the other clones. Or perhaps the scientists made considerable improvements on producing stronger clones. Nevertheless, Worst is still no match for Accelerator's Vector Shield on paper, with her having no means to bypass his passive reflection even with her stronger powers. Well, unless she managed to somehow disrupt his electrode, connecting his mind to the Misaka network, which is something Accelerator was concerned about. But Worst never ended up trying, so I guess we'll never know. Instead of using brute force, Worst would act as a psychological terror towards Accelerator, due to his trauma and PTSD of the project severely affecting him when he realized Worst was a clone by seeing her face. Accelerator did not wish to ever harm the clones again, so he chose not to reflect any of Worst's attacks, meaning he would take any and all damage coming his way.
Not a great plan.
This is possibly due to Accelerator being afraid that a redirected attack could potentially hit Worst, with him not being in a stable frame of mind to redirect the attack away from her. The standard electric powers of Worst are more stronger compared to her clone counterparts, and she can also fire nails at high speed by using magnetism, aptly named as the nail gun.
Nail gun, yeah, I was about to say
that. Notably doesn't use Fleming's left-hand rule.
Yeah, the version of railgun.
Her railgun, which is far stronger than
yeah, it's just less powerful.
After enduring severe injuries from Worst, Accelerator finally snapped as he wished to protect Last Order from Worst, as he broke her arm and repeatedly pummeled her out of rage. After he realized what he had done, Accelerator lost control as his black wings emerged from his body, until he was defeated again by Kamijo Toma. Later, after Accelerator and Worst had both recovered, Accelerator made a truce with her, despite the fact Worst's sole purpose for existing was to kill him. As Worst was aware, the Academy City higher-ups would now seek to replace her, now that she had failed her one objective. In note of this, Accelerator negotiated with his former enemy, suggesting she could learn his fighting patterns, which would make her more valuable to Academy City, and in return, Worst would help Accelerator during the war. Worst agreed, as she joined forces with him to help save Last Order from her virus. After World War III, Worst became a valued member of Accelerator's new family, even though she loves to tease the hell out of him for fun. I ship it. Now we have Dolly, from a certain scientific railgun, also known as the Prototype, and possibly the first successful Misaka clone.
Oh, actually, yeah, I was like, wait a second, Dolly
is likely a reference to possibly the most famous real
definitely forgot about her.
History, Dolly the sheep.
But yeah, after seeing the clips and stuff, I remember.
The obvious choice to name her after the legendary country singer Dolly Parton. Dolly and Railgun was created years prior to the beginning of the Sisters Project and lived in the clone Dolly lab building. Dolly was an imperfect
with
clone,
Shokoho,
was pretty much used as a means to determine whether future cloning would be viable or not, and if they would be able to live for a long duration of time after being forced to grow at an accelerated rate. Dolly was a younger age physically to the later clones, perhaps because the scientists wished to test how she would age and mature outside the incubation tube, to observe the early life cycle of clones in order to perfect future ones. While Dolly lived in a pretty unnatural environment in the lab building, she was still given toys to play with to pass time, as the scientists would continually monitor her well-being. Similar to Last Order, Dolly has an upbeat, energetic personality, different from the average clone. Again, this may be due to Dolly's original body not fully maturing, or the fact she predated the Sisters Project. Therefore, she was not augmented to be cold and indifferent in nature. She was notably more immature than even her young physical age suggested, noted by Shokoho Misaki, with Dolly acting more like a 6-year-old rather than a young middle school student. As Dolly was isolated, she gravitated towards the other girls who appeared a similar age to her, such as Kozaku Mitori and Shokoho Misaki, when they were younger. Dolly first met Mitori at the lab, with Mitori happening to be undergoing her own Esper development tests at the lab. The scientist then requested that Mitori interact and play with Dolly, hoping a friend would reduce the stress that the young clone was experiencing. The stress was possibly due to Dolly's ill health, or that she did not like the environment she was living in, as Dolly had been forcibly aged from Misaka's cells in a short span of time. Her physical body was now especially vulnerable, with her lifespan being drastically reduced. The scientists attempt to prolong her life via a life support device and medication, although later, Mitori came to the conclusion that the medication was actually causing her more harm than good, after witnessing the scar on Dolly's body. Even though Mitori had befriended Dolly, she was kicked out of the lab due to seeing the scar on her and accessing top secret information concerning Dolly's true identity as a clone, and even the parameter list, which contained classified information regarding Esper development in Academy City. The scientists then decided to use Shokoho Misaki as a replacement for Dolly's friend, as Dolly became depressed due to Mitori's sudden disappearance. Misaki was a level 5 Esper, even at a younger age, with the ability known as Mental Out, which could control and influence minds. She had been placed at the lab as part of the separate exterior project, which aimed to recreate a large version of Misaki's brain so that anyone would be able to use her power, even non-espers. Dolly now faced trauma over others seeing her being experimented on, or if they viewed the scar on her body, as Dolly believed this was the reason why Mitori had abandoned her. In order to rectify this, the scientists requested that Misaki use mental out on Dolly to make her believe that she was in fact Mitori, with Dolly now calling Misaki the same nickname she had used for her former friend, Mi-chan. Misaki also befriended Dolly, but tragically, Dolly's body had reached its limit as she finally passed away, prompting Misaki to take over the facility herself with mental out as her revenge. Fast forward years later, at the end of the Daihasei arc, Misaki had discovered that another clone was created beside Dolly thanks to accessing Kihara Gensei's memories. And this clone had Dolly's memories and experiences implanted into her. Likely this hidden clone would have been used in the lab to continue clone experimentation if Misaki had not brought an end to procedures at the lab. Misaki informed Mitori about this sudden news, as the two of them freed Dolly's new body. Misaki then walked away from Dolly and Mitori, who had finally been reunited, as Misaki believed that Dolly would no longer know who she is, as she tampered with her perception in the past. Well, it turns out that Dolly realized who Misaki was, that she was a completely different person to the original Mi-chan, with Dolly embracing her from behind as she forgave Misaki, causing her to cry. After the Daihasei arc, Dolly became Mitori's companion, accompanying her during the Jailbreaker arc as they attempted to free a prisoner from an Academy City juvenile hall in order to win a big prize. And from what we saw in the Mental Art manga, Dolly is pretty much confirmed to be living with Mitori in her apartment.
Yeah, no, I was quiet for most of that, but yeah, this story was definitely something else, right? And it's a good refresher too. Once they got like kind of reunited with the other version of Dolly, right?
Is that she chooses to influence her hair with electricity.
Yeah, that was definitely a story. I was like, yeah, let me listen again real quick. That was a good story.
Since she is a lower Esper than Worst, who cannot use Fleming's momentum, it's safe to say that the same applies to Dolly. Nevertheless, I think this ability is cool as hell. Next, we have a character that first appears in the Index light novels, the will of the entire Misaka network, even though she is referenced during the World War III arc by Mica Worst. Disclaimer, Will is not a specific clone to be precise, and she is something far greater since she acts as an almost spiritual being, which is ironic considering she's a scientific entity. The Will is the conscious combined mind of the entire Misaka network, and she can inhabit any clone of her choosing, possessing a body to take over, meaning she is superior to even Last Order.
Okay.
It is stated that she cannot take over the body of Mica Worst, as she is part of the third season and akin to someone who hacked into the network. However, Will states that she prefers letting the clones externally express themselves as individuals, rather than her taking authority over them. Will talks way more like a computer program than her clone counterparts. Despite her robotic way of speaking, Will often makes jokes, is really compassionate, and is able to empathize and offer advice to both Accelerator and Toma. She first appears in front of Accelerator, taking over Last Order's body after his second fight against Kikina Teitoku, in order to remind him not to continue down a path of bloodshed by not offering up any resistance against what his purpose was in Academy City. That purpose being the violent and murderous monster, which Accelerator no longer desired to become, as Kikina used dark matter replicas of the sisters in order to inflict trauma upon him, similar to what he felt when he first met Mica Worst. Will was basically implying that the easy path for Accelerator would be to continue being a bloodthirsty monster who would have almost no qualms over killing anyone in his way. Therefore, Accelerator would truly need to try with a lot of effort in order not to resort to such ways, and possibly going back down the dark path, which is natural to him. The Will could bring up the memories of the dead clones if she wished, which would potentially bring Accelerator closure in regards to the dead clone's feelings towards him, but the Will said it would be best to let the dead remain as such. Will also noted that Toma may be in a dangerous position as she left Last Order's body. When Toma was at his most vulnerable during the Ophinus arc, where he tried to take his own life due to Ophinus gaslighting him into thinking he had no reason to exist, the Will came to the rescue. No doubt, because Toma valued the clones from the very beginning.
Yep.
The will was actually independent of Ophinus's control, which is crazy because Ophinus was a magic god who could freely warp the perception of others and could warp reality in almost any way she wished. Since Will was a collective thought entity of all clones, both dead and alive, that still encompassed the network, she was beyond Ophinus's control over life and death, kind of like Schrodinger's cat. And maybe it is due to the fact that the network's true form is that of the Tree of Klonoth, a metaphysical concept which exists independently of the phases that Ophinus creates. So Will will be able to manifest without Ophinus being able to stop her. But more on the Klonoth very soon. Will was the one who told Toma that he should be selfish, that he needs to stop prioritizing everyone over himself. It's an important lesson of self-love that Toma needed, due to neglecting his own interests over the course of the series to help others. Will inspired Toma to stand up to Ophinus, no matter how futile, and that he would be willing to trample on the happiness of the entire world in order to try and restore his original reality he missed so much. The will appeared once more as Accelerator used the magical knowledge of his adopted demon, Clifford Puzzle 545, and the power of the network to gain Platinum Wings. Will contacted Clifford through Accelerator's electrode, which connects him and his power to the Misaka network. As Accelerator had also formed a contract with Clifford, the demon noticed that the network appeared much like a Kabbalic tree, such as the Sephiroth or Clithoth, which are magical concepts that rank beings based upon their soul or proximity to God, or evil beings in terms of the Clithoth. But why did the Misaka network appear like this? It is likely due to the fact Alistair created the network and modelled it off magical concepts, due to him being a former member of the magic side. Clifford became the new manager of the 11th sphere on what is known as the Third Tree, the artificial tree of Klonoth. Accelerator then used both Clifford and Will to apply this tree to the universe as he gained Platinum Wings and crossed the metaphysical abyss of Sephiroth, gaining great magical knowledge. If that was too confusing, then I recommend you watch this video where I explain...
Yeah, it's going to be pretty confusing regardless, but yeah, after hearing it a bunch of times, like, yeah, for someone like me, I understand, and plus I could just read it somewhere. Oh, just a straight zero.
And no, full tuning isn't the same clone as Dolly. They are confirmed to be different. First mentioned in Index Side Story 2, according to Misaka numbered 19090, full tuning was a clone created by Amai Al, and for some reason was cut off from the network and did not participate in the Sisters project, which is why all the clones have no idea about her current whereabouts. When full tuning was first mentioned, the Misaka sister said, as she lays out a new piece of foreshadowing. Essentially, the author Komachi Kazuma is breaking the fourth wall. The next and only time full tuning has been mentioned since is when Dion Fortune referred to her along with the other clones when talking to Accelerator. How Dion Fortune even knows about full tuning is another mystery in of itself. And yeah, that's all we really know about this secret clone. What happened to her? What's her purpose? I don't know. Amai Ao is dead, so it's not like we can ask him. Maybe Alistair knows. I mean, he knows everything, to be fair. Come on, spill the beans, Alistair. Tell us who the number 6 is and what the dragons are, thank you. Let me know if you have any theories regarding full tuning, and make sure you check out my other Index of
Okay, and that should be about it for this one. Yeah, like I said, the story with Dolly, yeah, definitely had to just sit there and listen to that. Cause I was even remembering when I reacted to that. That was, yeah, Railgun was season 3. That was great. Yeah, that was great right there. I love basically, yeah, about everything about it. But yeah, looking at this story and getting it reintroduced to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember this, and yeah, there's something that I may have misunderstood when I was watching it at the time. So it was actually good for me to look at that again. And then yeah, like I said, once they get reunited, that's definitely when I'm like, okay, wait a second, I think I forgot this, I forgot that. But I like how it all tied together though. That's real cool. So, oh yeah, well, okay, yeah, I basically know her. Yeah, I would know who this is. And plus, of course, you have the this right here when she comforted Toma. So yeah, I definitely would know that. That's easy to understand. But yeah, this mystery one, I wouldn't even really know it. Yeah, because especially since yeah, they were like not as mentioned. Yeah, no images, not as mentioned as much. Yeah, that's something I could easily overlook, right, and not really be aware of. Then yeah, Misaka Worst, I know about her. Um, yeah, just interesting. It's a lot of good stuff you can get from this. The certain themes that are going on, especially yeah, you got a accelerator, you know, redeeming himself. So yeah, yeah, definitely we know that it's just like good themes to really yeah, just yeah, or at least when I'm really thinking about it, like yeah, this is real good stuff, right? I'm starting to look at certain stories and things like that in a different way. Yeah, it's like I can definitely see the story, I can see the theme, but really diving more deep into it, like yeah, this is crazy. There's some real psychological stuff going on, a lot of mental things. Like, yes, it's a lot. There's definitely a lot that you can take away from all of this. Then you have Last Order and all that, right? Yes, like she should be able to understand and know, like this is the exact same person right in front of her that has been taking care of basically her sisters, right? The other clones, but yet look at her being all friendly and stuff. And then yeah, basically being a child. Yeah, all this. I'm not even gonna go into all that age because yeah, Misaka Worst is supposed to be what 16, right? But really, realistically she's actually younger, like what, like 8 years older. So I don't even know, right? So yeah, I'm not even gonna go into all of that, but yeah, for her to be all young and stuff here, at least Last Order, I mean, yeah, of course she's gonna be acting all silly, right? And that can actually throw you off too with how smart they actually are. It's like you see them on a child on the outside, or yeah, as a child on the outside, on the inside, they're doing something. They know a lot of stuff. They know what they're doing, right? Um, be doing something that the average adult wouldn't even come close to doing. Obviously, yeah, they're clones and yeah, can have all this intelligence, but still, it's like, yeah, do not just overlook that. Don't just be like, oh yeah, there's nothing really going on with this. She may not know this or that. But it's also the fact that Last Order can, I think, yeah, at least still learn, at least from Accelerator and all that. Yeah, they can still learn. They can still do that. Actually, be conscious of things too, right? Definitely learn how to gain some consciousness. So there's a lot that can go into it, but I think that might be about it here. Okay. So pretty much, yeah, I knew all of them. I guess the Will of the network. I guess I wouldn't know the name, but at least I wouldn't even think this would be a special one. But I've definitely seen that one pop up from time to time and doing its little thing. So yeah, I definitely know this one. And then yeah, Full Tuning, whoever that may be. But other than that should be about it. I guess yeah, let's just end it off here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Platinum Wings, right? So yeah, that should be about it for this one. Hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you like, subscribe, and y'all just see you guys in the next one.